Hello and welcome back to the second part of this series where we're learning to create a portfolio website. Um, just giving you a trailer of what we did in the previous video. We're creating a portfolio website for a developer who wants to showcase their experience and projects for either of their potential new employers or to maybe get started working as a freelancer and wanting to showcase all your experience that you've had in the past. In the previous video, we've created this website wherein we have some basic information about ourselves and then some detailed information as well. Like we've got information about what we like to do and what we've worked, along with our experience so far. What's left to do now is adding our projects, what all projects we've worked on, and apart from that we plan to add a menu right here so that people can directly jump on the section they want to see. So let's get started. I'll be starting with the projects menu right here. Let's start by adding some projects. Okay, so let's get started. So to get started, what I have in my mind is that I will be showcasing my projects along with some images that are relevant to those projects. So what I've done is I've gotten those images and I've added them to the public folder of my app. So let's get started. Previously we had kept this section for projects. We're going to now fill it with information. So we are going to be adding two different projects, and for each project I'll be first showing an image followed by a title for the project and a description for the project. So let's start with the source and of the first project. So for the first project, I'm picking up the Spotify image because that's what my first project is about. And let's check it out. So yeah, we have the Spotify image right here, but these are two different sections and I want space between them, so I'll be giving a class of margin top of 20 to differentiate the space between the two sections. And then obviously this is a very big image, I don't want it to be this big, so I'll give it some width, let's say a width of 20, and I'm not going to change the height, I'm going to let it automatically pick the height. And then I'll add my project title, and that would be a Spotify connector app. So it's basically going to be a Spotify connector app, and then as I said, I would be needing some description, and I already have some description copy pasted with me. I'm just going to paste it here, and yeah, that is it. So we now give it some style. I'm going to convert this description from a div to a p tag, and then I wanted the parent of the project to be of class flex so that it gets in a row. So this is a row and these are the columns. My image seems to be broken. Let's give it a class of items center and some space, some horizontal space between them, so space x of 5, and I get some good horizontal space. And because of item center, my image is also not breaking anymore. Let me try one thing. What if I give it with full? Okay, it's breaking, and with fit breaks too. And if I adjust the height instead, yep, looks like the same. So we go back to width 20. Alright, and then because this is the title of the project, I want it to be standing out. So we're going to use the same set of classes that we used for the experience. I'm just going to copy the classes from there and I'm going to paste it here. Yeah, and that's it. And then as you can see, there was some space between right here, and that space was space y2, so we're going to use the same to the parent of the title and the description. So space y2, add some space between the title and the text here, and I'm just going to adjust the line height of it with leading 6, which adjusts the line height and makes it look better. Yes, so that is it for my first project. And if I don't do items center, it breaks, so I think I'll have to maintain item center. And then moving on, our second app is a theming app. So I first get the image with the source, and that is theme.png, and then I need a div that will have the title and then description that I already have. Again, the same classes. I want it to be flex, items center, and space x5. My image is not rendering. Okay, because it's JPEG and not PNG. So yeah, my image rendered, but I would need to again give it some width. So class name width 20, and it automatically picked up the width. And then because these are two different projects, they should have some space between them too. So this section would have a space y of 10 to have distance between two projects. And then the title had some classes here. The same classes I'm going to replicate for the title here and convert the div of the description to p and add a class of leading 5, leading 6, because it adds some good line height. So yeah, my projects are ready too. So I have two projects, and now that my projects are ready, I want because I want others to click on the projects and to be redirected to my GitHub portfolio that has these projects, that has the code for this project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the div of each of the projects with an anchor tag instead, and I'm going to add an href which will have the GitHub link, and I'm going to be repeating the same for my second project. With an href. So now these are clickable, and as you can see, the links are present here for my apps now. So we're done with the projects. Now we can like we added some tags here, we can add tags here too. For that I'm just going to copy the section of tags that I had for my experience, and I'm going to just paste it below the description in both my projects and replace the tags with relevant technology that I used. So for example, for this theming app, it was basically an app made with React and Tailwind CSS, I would say, and only 2 tags. And for the first app, I basically used Express and Spotify API. So I'm going to mention those two, and when I check my project, the tags are added here. Now let's add the menu that we wanted to add here. So I'm going to the top section of my app, wherein here are the social media links, and right between the social media link and the short description that I had, I'm going to add another section, and in this section I'm going to add the items, which are basically going to be anchor tags. So 3 anchor tags for the 3 sections that I have. The first is about, and this section will have an href pointing to hash of about. The second section would be for experience with an href pointing to the hash of experience, and the third section will have a projects with href pointing to the hash of projects. And now to make these hrefs work, so you see there are 3 hrefs right here. Let's add some class to it. So I want it to be one after another, so flex in a column, flex column, and some space between them, some vertical space, so space y of 4. So there's going to be some vertical space between them, and I want it to be having some space from this description as well, so margin top of 20, which doesn't seem to be working. What if I give this a margin bottom of 20? Won't work either, and I think it's because of the space y class that we have. Yeah, so instead we give it a padding bottom of 20. If I close it, yeah, it still stays in a window, so that's fine. And now to make these hrefs work, right now if I click on it, it just redirects me to, it shows the hashes here, but nothing is changing on the page as such, and we want some functionality for it. So to do that, each of the section that we have, this is the about section, we will give it an ID of the same hash that we used in the href, that is about. Similarly, for the section of experience, we give it an ID of experience, and for the section of projects, not this, for the section of projects, we give it an ID of projects. Now let's see if it works. I click on it, and the about section, the screen scrolls up and about section is visible. If I go back and I click on projects, my project section is visible to me. going back up again, I click on experience. It highlights the experience section of my portfolio. So our menu is working, but it looks a bit dull and I don't know which one is active when. So to do that, we will have to read the hash from the URL and based on that identify which of it is active. And to do that, we would need something that is called as React Router DOM. I'm going to open up the terminal of my project quickly and do npm install React Router DOM. This installs the package React Router DOM for me in my package.json. So as I can see, React Router DOM is installed. Now from React Router DOM, I would need a hook which is called as use location. So I'm going to import the hook right here. Import use location from React Router DOM. What use location does is it gives me the location of the page, which I'm going to extract in a variable. So I'm going to say const location is equal to use location. And now to see what all information it gives me, I'm going to log it in the browser. And now context of a router. Okay, so for this, there's one slight change that we'll have to do in one of our files again, and that is main.jsx. Here we will have to import something called as browser route from React Router DOM, and then we are going to encapsulate our app inside this browser route. So this is what our app is going to look like, and my app has started working and I can finally see the location that I had logged, and here I get to see that there's a hash called as experience. So based on this, I get to determine which is the active one right now. And so coming back to my app.jsx, I am going to have to use another React hook which is called as use effect. So I'm going to use effect. I click on the option that it has given me and it automatically imports the same here, saving my effort. So basically use effect has a callback function inside it as the first argument, and the second argument is an array. If I keep the array empty, then whatever I write inside the use effect will get executed only the first time the component is mounted. But if I write something in here, then the callback function executes each time the array attribute experiences a change. So for example, if I write location inside here, then each time the location updates, this function will get executed. But the thing that I need more than the location is the hash in the location. So instead I do use location dot hash, and so each time the location gets changed, this function will get executed, and each time it gets executed, I wanted to check what the hash is. So I get the hash from the location.hash, and let's verify the same. With the console.log hash, and so it's an experience right now. If I go to about, it changes to about, and if I go to projects, it changes to projects. I'm getting the current hash right now. And then let's give all these anchor tags a class. Maybe let's say that class is going to be menu item. Now basically what I want to do is, each time the hash changes, I'm going to compare the hash with all three anchors menu items. If a hash matches, I will add a class active to it, and if the hash does not match, I will remove the class active from it. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to next get all the menu items. So document dot get element by class name, and that class name is menu item, and then it's going to return an array. So I'm going to run a for each loop here, which gives me each single item, and then I'm going to compare the attribute href. But before that, if you want, let's log the item to see if it works that way. And I refresh the page. There's some problem with it. Apparently it's not allowing me to do for each on this. So let's call this menu items, and then let's log menu items instead. So I get a collection of 3. So let's instead turn it into an array. Instead of logging here menu item, I'm logging array.from menu items, and what logs here is basically an array of 3 items. And if I then run a for loop on this array.from, so basically what array.from does is that anything that is not an array can be converted to an array using array.from. So this was giving me some other native type, and I wanted menu items to be an array so that I can iterate through each of it. I did array.from, and now if I log the item and check if I'm getting the href, and yes, I'm getting the href. And if I split the href based on the slash and get the fourth item from it, which is at the index of 3, then I get the exact hashes. So this is the basic hash that I want to compare. So if the hash that I'm getting from location, that is right here, if this hash is equal to the items href hash that we've added and we're getting with this operation, if this is equal, then I want to add a class to that menu item. So let's just log the item once again, and I want to check if I'm able to get the class list. Yes, I'm able to get the class list. So if this hash matches, I want item dot class list dot add, and the class that I want to add is active. Else, if there is no match, I want to remove the class active. So class list, so we remove the class active, and I did item instead of item. It's working now. And how do I verify that? It's currently on the hash projects. I inspect it and I see that it has a class active, which the rest don't have. I can now use it to style my elements. So I'm going to go to index.css, wherein I had previously done some styling, and I'm going to now here check for menu item with class active. If that's the case, then I'm going to give it a color. I want it to be bolder in size, bigger in text, and to do that I'll increase the font size to, let's say, 16 pixel, which is basically equivalent to 1 rem, and I'm going to increase the font weight to 500, and I'm going to change the text color, text color to the purest of white, and let's see if it worked. Yes, it did. I can probably increase the font size a little more for it to stand out that it's the active one. And if I now click on experience instead, I'm redirected to experience and the class style changes. If I click on about, I'm taken to about and the style of that class changes too. Coming back to app.jsx, so now we're going to try a couple of other cool things, like I want some hover effect on all of the experiences and projects that I've mentioned here. So let's get started with it. So for that, what I'm going to do is that here is one of my experiences, the first one of them. I'm going to give it a class, and I'd call that class as a group. I'll tell you why I'm doing it that way. And then I want the font color of the experience to change when I'm hovering over it, and I want it to change to let's say teal 300. So this is the title and the default color is slate 200, but I want to say that when the card is being hovered, change the color to teal 300. And to do that without using any scripting and by just using Tailwind, I am going to mention the class of the parent group hyphen. I want to mention hover, that means the action when I want the change to trigger, and then I'd enter a colon and I'd say that when the group is being hovered, the text color should change to teal 300. Let's test it. And yeah, it works. It works on the one in which I added the code. I can even change it to something brighter, say text teal 400. Yep, and it looks pretty. And I can even change the font size or toggle any of the functionality that I want. For example, maybe I can keep it 300, but I can increase the font weight by again doing group hover and font semi bold, which means that it will increase the font weight of the text when it's being hovered. And yeah, it does that. And then I want a card like effect, a shadowy effect on the entire group when hovered. So here I'm going to say on hover, add a drop shadow to the entire card. It's not working. And along with the drop shadow, I also want to change the color of the background. And I have a value ready with me, and I'm going to add background slate 800 by 5. And now when I hover, yeah, it gets a slight background color. But as you can see, the background edges are sticking very close to the text. So we would want it to have, by default, have some padding around it, a padding of 3, and we want to round the corners, so rounded MD. And now that I do it, I can see the background shadow taking effect. I can probably skip the semi-bold effect here. That's an overkill, I think. Yeah, but the rest is looking good, I think. And then I'm going to replicate the same behavior to the second project that I have. In fact, to the projects and experiences, all of it basically. So I'm going to add it here, and just to the title I'm going to say that on group hover, change the text color to teal 300. And so the next time that I'm hovering over my projects, I can see that behavior taking place. I can maybe change the padding to 5 instead of 3. The file looks better, I think. Changing the same here. And then I want to do the same to my projects. So I'm just going to copy the class and paste it to the parent of the projects. Yeah, which already has some classes. So I'm just going to call it a group, and then I'm going to mention that it should be having a padding of 5. And with the padding of 5, I want to say that on hover it should have a drop shadow, and on hover the background color should change to BG slate 800 by 50. And I copy these classes and I paste it to the second project. And then coming to the titles of the projects, I'm going to mention that when the group is being hovered, change the text color to teal 300. And I'm going to copy the same and paste to the title here. And I can see the same effect taking place here. I just forgot one thing, and that's rounded borders. So rounded MD, and I'm going to paste the same here. And now the borders are rounded too. So that's there, that's done. Now there is going to be one very cool thing that I'm going to be showing you guys. Whenever I'm selecting a text, because my font color is a very lighter shade, selection is sort of hiding the readability of the text, and I don't want that to be the case. So to fix that, I'm going to the topmost parent. I can remove the console here now. Yeah, but I'm going to the toppest parent that I can find, and I'm going to mention that on selection I want the text color to be teal 900. And so when that happens, it's looking dark, as I said, so we'd have to change the background too. So we'd say selection BG teal 300. And yeah, this is readable now. ain't it? So anytime I select a text now, it has this cool effect, which is neither disturbing the readability of my text nor making it difficult for me to read the text. So yeah, and each time I'm highlighting on my projects, it gives me a cool highlight effect, and I can click on any section of my page and it just leads me to that section of the page. And so I think we're done with our project, wherein we have the name and our bios reflecting our social media links, along with three important sections: one for about information, the other for experience, and the last one is for projects, all of which I can go through this navigation menu. That was all for this project, and I hope you really liked this video wherein we learn how to make our own portfolio website in just 1 hour. And I hope to see you guys for the next video. Please comment all the projects that you would want me to work on for the next video in the comment section. I would really like your suggestions to see what I should work on next. Thanks. Bye bye.